Hello, everyone. It's Stephen Whiteside here from the uptrend.com with this weekend's edition of Protect Your Portfolio. Let me start off with a quick apology. Apparently, we had some technical issues on Friday night with the Canadian data, and some of that wasn't apparent until some people let us know that there was an issue. We didn't catch it, and I apologize for that, but the issues have now been resolved. So, if you looked at the site over the weekend and you were checking Canadian data, you might want to come back to the site and just take another look before Monday's trading action. Now, week 25 has come and gone. Week 26 is not going to be as pretty, and we're expecting volatility to expand dramatically. The U.S. has attacked Iran, and the seasonality is the VIX should be up this time of the month, and it currently is. And this seasonality for crude oil, which we talked about before, usually peaks around the end of June. Well, what do you know? It's certainly going to peak. I don't know when the peaking is going to end, but we are certainly expecting a spike in crude oil this week, and it should start in about half an hour when the futures open. Iran doesn't have to do much at this point. They certainly don't have to send any more bombs or missiles anywhere. They can just cut off the Strait of Hormuz. And if they do that, that's going to send crude oil prices spiking. And that's, of course, what we've been concerned about. At the same time, we've been long crude oil, whether you're looking at the futures contract or the USO, and we've been long energy stocks, whether you're looking at the TSX or you're looking at New York. Energy stocks have done very well over the past couple of weeks. Now, coming into Monday's trading action, the VIX is on a daily buy signal, whether you're looking at the VIX for the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, or the Russell 2000. And of course, you could be long the VIX ETFs, and we're expecting those to rise sharply on Monday. On a weekly basis, the VIX was down slightly on the week, and we have some ways to go before we get a weekly buy signal on the VIX. And that would happen this coming Friday if the VIX were to close above $25.81. Now, before all of this happened in Iran over the weekend, what I was going to show you was the fact that the Canadian market is still holding up fairly well. This is the view that I would get if I opened this portfolio on my screen, looked at the weekly view. There's a lot of tens in here. Let me expand it out a bit so you can see that there's a whole bunch of tens in here. So the Canadian market is doing extremely well. Of course, it's being helped a lot by those rising commodity prices. There were a couple of early warning signals, and for the TSX and the Vanguard Canada ETF, we've got early warning signals up there at the top of the weekly panic zones. Of course, those are not sell signals. They're just telling us that the market's probably slowing down right now, and we should be on guard. Now, the financials also gave us an early warning signal, but banks did not. So a little disconnect there, but again, an early warning signal is just that. It's an early warning signal. It's not a reason to take action. Now, of course, all this could change with what's going on in the rest of the world, but the gold sector was down just 1.68%, had an inside week, so no change there. Now, there's a huge difference when we go through these. Anytime you look at something commodity related, you expect the volatility to be a lot more than say something like a bank. And if we look at the bank ETF, the weekly average true range at the moment is 2.51%. The weekly average true range on the gold ETF is 7.22%. So dramatic increase in volatility when you move away from something as stable as a bank to something that's as volatile as the gold sector. Now, gold was actually down $67.10 on the week, did not close below the previous week's low. Remember, when we're up here around $3,400, $67 is not a big move. So, I would imagine that gold's going to probably pop on Sunday night, but there's certainly no reason to take any action in regard to the gold sector this coming week. Now, copper, on the other hand, generated a sell signal way back here at the end of March coming into April, and we're still on that weekly sell signal. That has not changed at all. And of course, if the global economy is going to slow down, the price of copper will probably move down as well. And that, of course, is not going to be good for some stocks in the mining sector. Now, looking at the U.S. market, the U.S. market not doing as well as the Canadian market at the moment. We've run up to resistance and stopped. There's lots of nines here, but no tens. There's the weekly panic zone chart for the S&P 500. No early warning signal here just yet. but we have been unable to make higher highs, and that is also true for the NASDAQ 100. Again, no early warning signal just yet. Now, if you were with us back at the end of 2024, we were trying to get the Nasdaq 100 to break through the 531.25 level. Through the month of December, it had trouble doing that. It could not break out above it, so we came into 2025 knowing that that was an important level of resistance. And for the month of June, we've been just trading along that level. This is a daily chart. And as you can see, we spent most of June stuck to the 531.25 level. We were hoping to break out above this level, break away from it, and head up to 562.50. So far, that has not worked out. Given what happened over the weekend, we're expecting the market to start selling off on Monday. And so $500 is going to be an important level of support, the big round number. And of course, just below that is an open gap that may need to get filled. And we'll have to see what the market does if it gets down to that level. Of course, if it crashes through that open gap, that is a bearish sign going forward. Now, last week was a bearish reversal week for the NASDAQ 100. And that signal is still in play. To get rid of that signal, what we need to do is close above last week's high. We certainly didn't do that this week. So that bearish reversal signal is still marking a potential top for this particular move. And if you look down here, you'll see that the pros gave up control this week. So that's not a bullish sign going forward. And that happened ahead of what happened in Iran this weekend. And just a quick look, the Russell 2000, closed actually slightly higher on the week, but certainly no change in trend, anything here, and no new early warning signal as of Friday's close. Now, my plan was to walk you through the 10 most valuable companies in the world, looking at the daily charts and just to see what it was going to take to break the market. And starting off with Microsoft, I was going to tell you what the break point was on the daily chart. That's also true for Nvidia. Apple is just treading water here. It did trade up to the upper channel line on Friday, but did not close above it. So it's coming into the week still on a sell signal. Still a very broken stock here. It's trading under the flypaper channel, unlike Amazon, which was able to break out above the flypaper channel earlier. But Amazon ended Friday on a sell signal. So did Alphabet. Alphabet got crushed on Friday. It's back on a sell signal. And so did Meta. For Meta, we were looking for a close below $685.09. We closed at $682 and change. So we've got another stock back on a sell signal. Broadcom still on a buy signal here, no change. That would happen on Monday with a close below $246.72. Now, Berkshire Hathaway has been on a sell signal for the last 2 months, so no change in trend there. I wonder if they're in mourning because Warren Buffett is retiring. Then Tesla. Tesla is coming into Monday on a sell signal. That would change with a close above $331.27. Now, I'm just going to go take a look at the futures and see how they're opening on Sunday night. Well, what do you know? The futures aren't down that much now that they've opened. And of course, they are trading ahead of the Asian markets opening. So that could put more downward pressure on the futures. We'll just have to wait and see. But there's the S&P 500 futures contract down $33.50. We've got gold up $15 and crude oil up just under $2 at the moment. And so there's the first take on how the futures may be acting going into Monday's trading action. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Next time you'll hear my voice is on Monday morning, and at that time we'll walk through the most actively traded stocks from Friday's trading action.